Why is thought ostracized in the spiritual community? You must have seen spiritual gurus saying to observe thoughts, right? To be cautious of it. What do they mean by that? To be cautious of it, to watch it like one watches a criminal? He might do any dangerous thing any moment? Or is it like watching a flower, moving in the wind, just observing the beauty of it? What is a thought? A thought is a thinking process, right? It's a mental activity. It is certainly required in all day to day activities, right? So, are the day to day activities really harmful? That must be looked at to see if thought is actually harmful, right? Because behind the day to day activities is thought, right? Because it's a basic thing which is required to function. So you look at society as a whole, how much of the daily activities are necessary, how much is only desires and is actually causing harm and destruction and decadence, right, which is decaying. So if you look at all the pollution and all the wars and the mental burdens that people currently face, and you realize that thought is behind that, the thinking process, then you will reach to the conclusion that thought is bad. But then there is another perspective of looking at society, which is the successful version of it. That yes, success is now a part of society, which cannot be removed away from it. So society is giving birth to innovations, and all these people, they have their own colorful little worlds in which they function, and there is beauty all around it. So these are two different perspectives of society, and depending on how you look at society, you can say thought is destructive or it is constructive. you know so what is really the truth here? Are we on the right path? Overall study of society needs to be conducted to reach that conclusion. Anyway, so sometimes something about destruction, sometimes destruction is not collapsing and crumbling to pieces. It is only over construction. That is what destruction is. Over construction. You build and you improve much more than necessary, right? Anyway, so why is thought used in excess, right? In a way, if you look at it, thought in moderation will be necessary, right? And you look at society, it appears that everything is being done in excess, right? So why is thought being used in excess? First of all, that's the question. Why are we leaning towards that area? There can be various reasons for it, but one of the reasons is that because people are so divided, every person has his own ambition and goal and his idea of what is best for him and which path he should follow. And for these different ambitions that different people have, they have their own thinking processes to achieve it, right? So this creates an excess of thought patterns and thought streams where all the thoughts are piled up and smashed over each other and they are not focused in a straight line. So maybe you can say that the person in front of me, his well-being is my own well-being, right? If you function in that way, that my well-being is connected to yours, and what is good for you will be good for me, and what is good for me will be good for you. In that way you remove the disarray of humanity and you come to the realization that what benefits us is the same for all of us. In that way you reduce the thought and the thinking naturally, which is required to establish well-being, right? This is the reason I gave why thought is an excess. Why is it a dominating force in society, right? Anyway, the spiritual group has ostracized it. It has considered it a foreigner. So that must mean they have something in their arsenal which is beyond thought. Something is helping those spiritual people to function that is not the thinking and not the thought, right? What does spirituality means? It obviously stems from the spirit. Spirit means the animating force, breath, something alive, the soul. So if you consider thought, the opposite of spirit is flesh, by the way. So in a way, thinking processes, I think, should be a result of flesh, of the bodily processes of being in a physical world, but the spirit is the soul which is beyond this world. And the way the spiritual people and the spiritual gurus are ostracizing thought, it appears like they have the help of the spirit which has showed them a different world, a different way of living, right? Is that the case? Is that the truth? Do the things they say and the way they act is something special and outlandish and is not a result of planning and thought, So, what else? There are not many conclusions I have reached, but only more questions, I suppose. I thought about this a lot. Let me gather my thoughts further. I have written it down and I'm forgetting some things, so I will add that in the video further ahead. Yeah, so this is on the last point, that spiritual people supposedly have something else in their arsenal, in their being, that's not the thought, and that is guiding them. So spirit means soul, so that must mean they are being helped by some spirits, or they live in the spirit and their own spirit is helping them. I don't know what it is really. So spirituality is of the spirit and for the spirit, while thought is for the physical and of the physical. So in a way, spirituality, whatever it is, can it help you function in the physical world? Or is it some sort of fascination, escapism, another sort of illusion, Is it really required to fix the physical world? Or is thought enough? That is thought in moderation, honing the thought, blacksmithing it, and then using it to improve society and improve the world, right? Will that be better, or will something such as spirituality be better? This is a question to find the answer for, right? Is spirituality some sort of a fascination? Maybe it exists, but in the afterlife? Or is it that you need something from the afterlife to help you function here? It don't make sense really. What is of this world should stay in this world and should be enough for this world, right? So yeah, that's about it about the video, I think. But yeah, honing the thought in moderation. Thought was required since the beginning. It's there since the beginning. During hunter-gatherers, when we lived, it was required for hunting, for growing the crops. But it was not as it is now. So much of it is required, Complete functioning we do by it. And that's the problem, I think. that moderation is necessary. Just one way of improving thought is moderation. What are different ways of improving thought? This is another question that people must find out. And another main thing I derived from this was the previous question: is spirituality really necessary, or is thought enough? That is an improved version of thought, a sane version of it, a normal version of it. That is it.